Hello, ladies. Welcome to today's Real Women, Real Talk episode with me, your host, Sarah Renshaw. This is our first episode of season 2, and I'm super excited to speak with our first guest. So allow me to introduce today's fabulous ladies, and Trinca. Trinca. I want to say it with a Spanish accent for some reason.
It sounds good that way.
And Trinca and Irina McGrath. So Anne and Irina are coming to us Anne is coming from San Francisco and Irina is in the beautiful state of Colorado. I connected with Anne, I believe, through my website. I can't remember. I remember we had some kind of difficulties finding emails and such, but it came through media in a way because Anne was looking for someone to help her with her upcoming multi-day retreat here in Yucatan, Mexico. Okay, this is like it's a European way of saying colors, right? Colores.
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 That's the Spanish version.
Okay, los colores.
Sí.
There we go. Mayan Retreat. It's hosted by Anne, who is a photographer and has been inspired by colors and energy. And Irina is a trained. Oops, I lost contact. Hold on. There we go. Who is trained energy and meditation guide, and their partner, Christina Young, who is an artist and instructor. You guys can share more about what she is and what she's adding to the retreat. She can't be with us in person today because it sounds like she's doing something fun.
Her birthday.
Birthday celebration. Yeah. So yeah, Anne and I have been speaking for a couple of months, but this is the first time that we will speak face to face. So it's lovely to meet both of you. And I look forward to learning more about your retreat, about you and how you find yourselves hosting a health and wellness retreat down here in the sunny Yucatan.
Yeah.
So sorry. Go ahead. So without further ado, welcome Anne and Irina.
Thank you so much for having us, Sarah.
It's my pleasure. It's so nice to meet you, ladies. So I think the best thing we can do is just start with telling a little bit about yourself, your background, family dynamics, your work. What do you do on a day-to-day? And we'll just let the conversation flow from there.
Sure. Yeah, that would. I'd love to start. This is Anne, and I'm an artist, and I'm in my 50s. So I've been working in museums for about 20 years. I am what you would call a late bloomer, I guess, because it took me a while to find my partner, which I did in my 40s. And he has 2 adult kids, a boy that's 19 and a girl that's 23. I can't say girl, woman that's 23. And I've just started to notice in my 50s that all of the things in my life that I thought were like loose threads were kind of starting to come together. Like my interest in color, my interest in Mexico, my love of travel, my kind of hypersensitive outlook of the world. Like as a kid, I was just deeply struck by things that were new or visual. I've worn glasses all my life, so I was always concerned with the eye. And I swear I've memorized the encyclopedia page about the eye because I was like, how does it work? How does it not work? How does light get in? How do we see color? And so that theme has always been with me. Studied art history, and then I decided I really wanted to be around like living artists and what was going on now. So that's why I started working with museums and studied arts administration. And then I started coaching artists with what I knew from the museum world on how to get their work out there, how to be more confident, how to work the gallery system and all of that. And, things were going along swimmingly until the pandemic, I think. And I started just really having a lot of anxiety about what was going on in the world and what was the thought of losing loved ones just really started to build up. And so I started having, maybe we'll talk about this later, but that goes into how we started the retreat. So suffice to say, I'm still in a discovery period in my life, but feeling things coming together now with this kind of direction of art and wellness.
Wow, I love it. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Irina's somewhere on that path with me.
Yeah. we
So
tend to find each other. We tend to
Uh,
like what we need is the people that come across our paths.
I mean, Irina and I met online, which is a funny story because it wasn't a dating app, but like a friendship app because I was looking to meet more people. And so we went on a date, like a first date. We just, hit it off, matched perfectly. And then I never used the app again. I was like, I found the person I needed. I'm done. So,
same
yeah.
here. Oh yeah, that's great. This is Irina. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in Armenia, so just northeast of a small, tiny country. Raised in a very unique environment where Armenia was part of Soviet Russia. So you have your own culture, but there's this other influence. Armenian culture is a lot of rules. I was given, at least as a young woman, how to live, what to say, how to behave. And then everything just collapsed when Soviet Russia collapsed. And this will be an interesting story for Americans because I don't believe they can even imagine a situation where imagine you having an AC right now, Sarah, and then suddenly you have no electricity, no AC, no running water because Russia cuts things off. And so my teenage years were really spent in what we call them the dark years, no electricity, in the candlelight, reading books, and, always interested in human nature, just like Anne was interested in color. I was always interested in human nature, how different we are and how we perceive the world differently. So I was reading just a lot of books, learning piano and learning how to knit, and got really good at poker because there's really only so much you can do. But unlike other teenagers, my generation, we just, we didn't go out to the movie theaters. We were all kind of with your family and neighbors. So that was looking back as an adult, I wouldn't take that away. It was a phenomenal, it shaped how I am too. And you learn to slow down. You're not in a hurry because there's nowhere to go. You don't go to school, nothing. I was 19 when I had an opportunity to come to the United States and study. So I took that opportunity, came here, 19 by myself, barely speaking English. It was quite overwhelming. So I went back and still couldn't really find, I don't know how to say, my path where I come from. I don't know if you will share this kind of I guess the story that was told for me by my culture is that I had no choice. I had to basically get married. That's what women do. You get married, you have kids, that's about it, and then you take care of them. So I didn't want to do that. So went back, finished my master's degree in behavioral psychology, and then came back to the United States again in my 20s. I was 20. This time I was in San Francisco, which I fell in love with. So it took me another 23 years when I left, kicking, screaming to Denver. San Francisco was amazing because I was 20, figuring things out who I am outside of my culture and family, figuring out how to learn English, manage things, and really it's true how it shaped me. And I discovered, and I guess again we'll talk about this, but I discovered this meditation school very quickly, started taking classes, just fell in love, and I realized I was looking for that stillness for a long time in my life. So I found that in San Francisco. And and then fast forward 24 years of me moving to the United States, and I have a new adventure in Denver and running two businesses, have employees, and it's and the journey of it, that discovering who you are and that inner discovery, it's never ending. So yeah, I'm in my 40s, just answered that 50s. I was just, my mom is having a hard time to even accept that she has a 46-year-old daughter. And I'm looking back, I was like, I feel there's just so much more to discover for me of who I am. So this retreat that we've created in Mexico, in a way, it's an opportunity for other women to slow down and discover who they are, in a way. through art and creativity and imagination. So
Yeah.
which is what
Wow.
we're talking about. Yeah, this is a very brief version, but yeah, that's really where I come from, kind of how those events shaped me.
Fascinating, both of you. Such a pleasure. This is why I love doing the podcast, because I get to meet women like yourselves who I wouldn't meet otherwise, right? And we talk about things where you go kind of deep, kind of quick, where you wouldn't do it in a normal introduction. And I just find the stories of women and overcoming and the challenges and how we get from here to there. It's just so
Mhm.
fascinating, and it fills something inside of me, I guess, as a woman, to see it through your eyes and your experiences.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
part of the
amazing.
reason that we made it a women's only retreat, I think, because there is it's kind of an intimate thing to delve into yourself during a retreat and to kind of face your fears or whatever is coming up for you. And I feel like being in an environment with a bunch of women is just so comfortable and much easier to share. Like you said, we have different stories, but we all kind of have the same challenges to face, and we can relate to each other, and it's a nurturing, it's just a lovely environment to be relaxing in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I've done quite a few women's retreats, and I find that too. I find that we are able to be more vulnerable and more authentic to who we are, because we don't have the pressures of the opposite sex, of feeling insecure based on different experiences, like we're saying, different challenges. As a woman, even if we haven't had that specific challenge, we can relate to it because some other woman that we know in our lives, a sister, a best friend, a mom, has happened to them. And so it's a place, like you're saying, that you can feel comfortable and be yourself, and cry and laugh and talk and let it out and share. And I think
Mhm.
that's super important.
And just being around your friends is therapeutic in itself, so to make new
Mhm.
friends or to be around people you already know in this group setting is it's really nice feeling. um,
Yeah.
Definitely. So you mentioned that you guys came to Yucatan in January of this year, or
No, February of last year. But I have been 5 times, I think now, and I started coming in 2018 with my partner, and I just love Merida. I love the feeling, I love the people, I love the colors and the food and the nature. And so we came back, we brought the kids one time, and we brought some friends. And then in 2023, I got a group of my girlfriends to come on a girls' trip. So I planned a few things, like some trips to the Uxmal ruins and some cenotes, and everyone just had such a blast, and it was a great feeling. And people were saying, "Oh, Anne, you should plan trips for people," and that idea never really came to my mind. I've been on lots of trips, like as a photography student with my mentor. I've traveled to like Argentina and Myanmar and Indonesia. And so I do like that group dynamic of having things kind of taken care of for you, and you just show up and it's really easy and relaxing. So I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. And then I saw a lot of, I'm always pining over other people's retreats, like ones that where you get to meet local artisans, or you get to go to special places. So honestly, this retreat is just something that I would have planned for myself. Like, this is like, what do I want to do? And would other people want to do it with me? I guess well, Irina, what were your impressions of Merida when you came with us?
Where do I start in? My exposure to Mexico prior to Merida was very limited, right? You saw Cabo San Lucas, a lot of Cancun, you go to resorts, maybe you go to towns. I did not expect Merida to be so lively. And what I loved for the first time being in Mexico, that we did not stay in a resort, we're in the city, we're walking to the markets, we're walking to the church, it was I think if we had stayed there maybe 3, 4 more weeks, I would become part of it and would never want to move. And it was just lovely. Just wake up and just walk. And you and I did a lot of walks, right? Or just go to a local restaurant. And it was just, it wasn't the American experience of going to a resort. It was, you were truly in Mexico. And of course, Ann and I share this passion of every time we're in a place in Mexico, we love to go to the local markets. Like what we did just go to local markets where the locals are and figure out how to, with your broken Spanish, interact with so that was just, I don't know. And the company was great and the city was just amazing. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah,
Well, maybe I can share a little bit.
Please.
I don't know if you ladies know this, but on the spiritual side of things, on the planetary grid of energy, and Irina, you might know about
Mhm.
this. So the flower, the grid that goes around the planet, each one of there's crosses, the way the flower goes and it crosses. And so Yucatan, where it crosses, it's the feminine connection. And so that the feminine energy here is very powerful. And every woman I speak to, I mean, there's so many foreigners that live here now, a lot of single, younger, not even younger, all ages women come here and they're like, I don't know why I'm here. I just felt a calling and I'm here. I love it. And it's amazing. And I think that's one of the reasons, because there's just this energy that supports the feminine and who we are and what we need to do to balance to fit. And so that could be part of the energy that you guys feel whenever you've come.
That's you just nailed it, Sarah. Yeah, it's that I experienced a similar energy in Malta. There's certain places that you go and you just feel that. And yeah, and we felt so safe. And as women, because we were a group of women, we never felt unsafe, and just the vibrancy and the color. And we were observing how when we went outside of Merida to the ocean, just to be by the ocean and with the ocean, we were just observing how happy locals were. They're smiling and just, you could see they appreciate where they are. I don't know. That was one of my observations as people watching their energy.
Yep. Yep. It's the simple things. It's like what I love about Merida is it's a big city, right? There's more than 1 million people that live here full time, but it feels like a small town. So you have all of the resources and things that we would want, or want or need, but it's that small town feeling of very polite and welcoming, and even if you don't speak Spanish, they're so patient and they want to help you. And so it's a connection between you and the locals that you never feel out of place. They make you feel warm. They welcome you to their home or to their market, it's a really unique place in that aspect. So yes, I understand. So when you ladies came, you came 1.5 years ago, I guess then, right? And
Right.
so when you came, you were like, all right, let's do something. Let's put something together. You got inspired by what you were seeing and experiencing. And you were like, okay, let's do something.
Yeah, this year is actually our second retreat. So we did one last October in Zihuatanejo, or just outside of there in Troncones. And I thought I had a connection with a person that had a venue there for us, and that was kind of our beta test. And it was very hot and muggy as well, but we had the ocean there, which was beautiful, and the view of the ocean every morning waking up, and the sound of the ocean while we were doing meditations with Irina. It was just gorgeous. And we met a man who wrangled iguanas. We had to do a lot of interesting things on that one.
It's called the Iguana King.
The Iguana King, yeah. But we wanted to move it to Merida after we, had been there. And I've started to get to know some of the locals there, and some of the local artists. So we will be, during the retreat, visiting with Ernesto Garcia Sanchez. He's a artist who has a workshop and gallery on the 62, and so we'll spend an afternoon with him making stuff in his workshop. So we do get to kind of mix in with the local artists as well as working with Christina. And I will mention that Christina is an artist. She does murals, and she's also an artist educator. So for years, she lives in Napa, California, and she went into the schools and introduced, the idea of art and self-expression to kids. So she's excellent to have on this trip, because we are kind of just trying to recapture our youth and try to bring out that childlike sense of like, oh, I can make something. You don't have to have any particular artistic skill, but you can just, create from the heart and kind of lose yourself in the making process.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. So you don't have to have any artistic skills or training or any background in art. It's about connecting with your sense of creativity, whatever that is, whatever that inspiration is for you, being in a place that, like we were talking earlier, that you don't have to worry about where you are, what you're doing, what you're eating, how travel. When you travel by yourself, you really have to think, okay, what's my plan? Where am I staying? What am I eating? How do I do the money? All of those things that tend to be, it's like responsibilities. You have to be paying attention to those. But in this case, in a retreat atmosphere, you really get to let go and not worry about any of those responsibilities, and really be able to open up to that creativity, to who you are, to really have the time to stop and think about those things and feel those things.
Absolutely. And Sarah, you mentioned you have children, right? I have a 17-year-old, and just when I was watching her as a young girl, if you watch them create, and she's very artistic, it's like they are so in that moment, right? They don't worry about what's going to happen even just 10 minutes from that. They're in that art creating, and in a way, the inspiration is, and Anne doing it through photography, Christina doing through art, me doing through meditation, is how do we come back to that childlike curiosity, creativity? And because in that space, if I were to talk in an energy level, really you're opening your creativity. There's no judgment, and that's why we wanted to keep it that. As a matter of fact, I'm in the group, I know nothing about art, but it doesn't matter. No one judges. You're right there in that moment, just creating through you. And that's such a magical space that we have it as children. We lose it as we get older, especially women. I think we take a little bit more responsibility, family, etc. We worry a little bit too much than, let's say, men do about the future. So that's really was one of the reasons why we wanted to create this space for women. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
activities we do is called neurographic drawing, and it's just basically you start out with doodles and you just like run your pen around the page, and then you start to like round out the edges, and they become this like grid that kind of looks like like brain connections, or cells or something biological, but then you fill it in with colors that however you want, and you just like you stop thinking about everything else, and you just are in there like filling in the squares or the circles, and it turns out really beautiful. They're always like different and interesting, but yeah, you can do that for hours and not have to think about anything else.
Well, and and you can speak on this, Irina. That's the meditative moment, right? You don't have to do the close your eyes and don't think about anything, and like it's actually, you can meditate in moments of art, of dance, of expression, of different ways, by not doing anything but in this activity, in what you're speaking of. So that's, I find, I have a lot of experience with meditation and spirituality and these things as well. And I found that people don't realize these activities that they enjoy, that's meditation. They
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully said, Sarah. Yeah. You just, exactly. Yeah.
So, Irina, tell us a little bit more about your background with the meditation and how you got, I mean, obviously your story coming from where you came from and coming to a
Mhm.
country where you don't speak the language or know anything about the culture, you needed something to connect to. So, how did that?
Yeah. Great question. It's a very great story because I know that we're all interconnected, right, as human beings, regardless how different we are. It all started because I was waiting tables because I found what a great way to expose myself, force myself to speak, right, whatever. So we're at the bar. I look at this bartender. I've never met her before in my life. And I said, outside of bartending, what do you do? And she says, what do you mean? I said, I don't know. You're doing something else. Your energy is different. So she just told me about this school. And this is, we're talking about maybe a few months into being in the United States. Of
Wow.
course, barely speak English. I don't know how to drive, don't have a driver's license. And back in the day, right, Zoom is not available. This we're talking 19 in the 90s, 1999, not 1900s. But so it took me a year and a half of learning how to drive, get my driver's license, take English as second language courses. But I found a school in north of San Francisco. The school is named Asclepion after the Greek healer Asclepius. And what attracted me to that school is that there is no gurus, there is no you have to do it this way. It was they teach you techniques. Of course, in a modern world, they talk about mindfulness, which is what we can talk about, but it's really about being present and having the connection with the planet. And so you're not separate from the planet, you're connected to it. So what was attractive to me, even as a young girl, I did not like to be told what to do. So, and they don't tell you. The curriculum was structured in a way that here's the technique, here's the tool. Go ahead and make it yours. Use your imagination. Use it however you see fit in your own universe, in your own world. So I took that and took the intuitive training program, which was a year, took the healing programs, which was a 5-year program, teacher's program, and I'm actually still teaching. I taught a meditation class this morning at the school. So now, of course, in the modern world is very different. It's all online. So people call in. So there's different techniques that I can teach how to be present, how to be out of the body. But in the end of the day, the simplest term of me defining meditation is you finding that inner connection and that inner, I guess, communication within yourself. It's not about others. The joke that my students all know, we talk about all the time, that I said, life is an inside job, it's all here. So how do we find that connection? And we do it through using imagination, through meditative techniques, which is nothing new, Sarah. It's, if you study any of the Eastern philosophies, you'll see a lot of there. Armenia was the first country accepted Christianity in the early Christian, like the churches that we have from, let's say, 3rd, 4th, 5th century. You see that they had meditation centers within the church or outside, these little rooms. So even early Christians meditated. It's just now we kind of assign it to just an Eastern religion, but it's not. Yeah, so it's nothing. It's not as simple as take a breath, but it's not it's not an information that hasn't been present on the planet in that spiritual level for millennia. I hope if that makes sense. I hope I'm not.
Absolutely. No, it makes perfect sense. And
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. Yeah, it's a tool that changed my life. And without it, like can't function. I'll find myself like you get busy and you're like, I don't have time to meditate. And you don't do it for one day and you don't do it for 2 days and you don't do it for a week. And then I'm a mess. Like I need that moment for me to reconnect to my life inside of here so that I can live out there.
Correct. And one other thing that I want to add about meditation, sometimes it's assigned as if it's you do it and you can't take that meditation applied to your day. You said it beautifully, Sarah, when you can do the drawing, and that's a meditation, but you can be a parent and have a parent from a space of being present and grounded. You can go to work, which I have my practice where I teach meditation. Of course, I meditate, but I teach meditation, but I also have a practice, a financial planning practice. Of course, many of our clients don't know, but I meditate all the time before meetings, calm down, because, you know, people are very anxious about money in general in the world. And my world is in my practice to talk about their money. So I would actually ground myself. And when I'm present and I'm watching them, their bodies become relaxed too. So we all energetically there's an exchange of energy. So I guess what I'm trying to say, meditation applies to every aspect of our lives. It's not just a singular thing that you close your eyes for 5 minutes. It changes within and it radiates out into your day. So that's really what I want to teach, that it starts from here and you can change your world. We can change your reality.
Yeah. Beautiful.
When Irina was doing the meditations for us last year, she really incorporated a lot of creativity, like envisioning things, and I literally saw them in front of my eyes. Just like she would help us imagine, the cord connecting us to the center of the earth. And I was there, and I guess being a creative person, it was pretty easy for me to do that. But I think it's kind of a new way to meditate and connect it to the visual, for me anyway. But
Well, and I was going to ask you too, Anne, because I read in the write up about the retreat how you were inspired to do that. So you started talking a little bit about how when the pandemic and you started feeling the anxiety and the worry.
yeah.
And so please share your story with how
That's
you
how
connected.
Yeah, that's how I came to meditation. It was fairly recently, and I actually experienced panic attacks. I didn't know what they were because there wasn't anything specifically going wrong in my life, and it could be in part like things like menopause, things hormonally going on, but I just became super hypersensitive to anything, and I just felt like crying, and my thought that I was having a heart attack, and I ended up in the ER like a couple of times because I just didn't know what it was. The doctors were like, your heart's in perfect health, you're in perfect health. This is anxiety, and we'll get you into a program to help you sort of sort that out. So I did go through some group therapy, which was so helpful in understanding, what anxiety is and how our thoughts can deceive us and how our feelings can just take over. Then meditation as a way to reground yourself and say, I'm safe. There's no danger. And I felt I really gained a lot of perspective from that. And so, during the pandemic, when we couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't see each other, I just started going on these daily walks. And as a photographer, I can't walk without like taking a picture every 5 steps. Irina knows this from going on walks with me. But yeah, then I thought, well, I'm going on the same path every day. How can I mix this up? And I thought of doing a color walk, which is just focusing on one color each day. And it could be any shade of that color, but what it did was help me like tune into my world and the physical surroundings and let go of all the other stuff that was twirling around in my brain. So I would, stop and think like, well, is that red or is that pink or is that vermilion or is that, just really tuning into that. And by the end of the walk, I would just feel so relaxed and peaceful and happy. And really notice how color affects your mood too. So I'm really in my fine art practice, I'm starting to really explore that and the energy that color brings. But whenever I teach color walks to people, they really get into it. They really find it fun and easy, approachable. And so that will play into the retreat as well. We have a photography session where we focus on a color. We also learn how to do portraits of each other. My contribution to the creative activities is we kind of teach us how to look at one another, how to pose, how to express yourself in your mannerisms, and then how to capture that with photography. So that I
Mhm.
thought that was a really fun highlight last year where we got to pose each other and it was kind of fun and silly, but you feel seen and you
Mhm.
feel like someone's really paying attention to you, which is nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we
that
got
sounds
to
wonderful.
yeah, to add one more layer, Sarah, and then we got to share those photos, like, look what we did, and we got to admire the the subject, right, of the photography, but also each other. It was beautiful. And my phone has a section that is all orange because that was my color when we were in Tunis, where we were photographing everything orange, and they became a really fun thing. Like, oh, I spot an orange motorcycle. Let me run over there, or let's
Mhm.
go to market. And so, yeah, it just again it takes you out of that grind that is the day, that the worry and concerns and being the many roles that we play as women, right? And it just kind of narrows you and say it truly is a retreat when you just set everything aside and it's just you're reconnecting with yourself through each activity is in a way is designed for that. And I think that's an accurate way of describing it, Anne.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we're trying to make it easy and fun, but it has a
Mhm.
deep effect. And we can't wait to do our sound bath with you, Sarah. We're gonna do a
So excited.
cenote trip and have
Mhm.
the sound bath inside the cenote, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Going.
it's wonderful. It's an open cenote, but it
Mhm.
has once you go down the stairs, it's a huge open cenote. So anyone who's afraid of closed spaces, it's fine. It's not. It's big and
Mhm.
open. But what's cool is it has once you go down the stairs, there's a platform down there. And so that's where I'll be playing the sound bowls while you and your group will be out in the cenote and we'll have life jackets. So you're just laying there and
Mm.
you can either look up at the sky or close your eyes with the sounds of the bowls and the instruments playing. And it does exactly what both of you ladies are doing in your individual professions, right? It's like it's a way to if you're opening your eyes, you're seeing the trees above you and the sky above you. It's complete nature. So the meditative part of it just happens. You don't have to do anything. You're just there and with the nature and with the energy of these the cenotes are sacred to the Mayan people.
Mhm.
And for thousands of years, they've been doing ceremonies asking for whatever it was they were needing. If it was rain or celebrating a birth or a death or anything that was going on, the place that they would go to is in the cenotes, and they would have the ceremonies inside of the cenotes because they're described as like the intra world. So we live in
Mhm.
the real, I don't know, life, skin life. And then the cenotes are the intra world before you pass on to the next life. And so it's kind of connecting all three.
That's gonna be so powerful because, yeah, it
Mhm.
has that rich tradition and also the colors, the blue, deep blue, so calming, and yeah, I think that's gonna be transformative for people as well.
And we get to eat with the locals. We have the cenotes are typically ran by the local communities. So the money and everything that we pay to go into it goes directly into the community. And so
Amazing.
we have one of the grandmothers who's going to make us salbutes, which is a local Yucatecan dish, and they're delicious. I've done it, I don't know, 100 times now, and it's like the consistency is better than a lot of restaurants here.
Oh,
That's
nice.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
we love that. It's just so aligned with, yeah, that's so wonderful.
I think that is why when you mentioned that Merida has a feminine energy, because it's the women that are nourishing people there, and I
Mhm.
really do feel, like, connected to the women who are making the food and yeah, just and also I just love the Mayan, they're just so welcoming and also the textiles are beautiful and the design and
Mhm.
just a
Mhm.
real sense of artistry in that
Mhm.
culture that
Yeah.
I'm amazed by.
Definitely. So how did you pick the hacienda? I can never say it. Tell me how to say
I think it's Tepic, Tepic, Hacienda
Tepe.
Tepic. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I just looked for some place that I didn't want to be smack dab in the middle of Centro because it's a little noisy and, I wanted it to have lots of room to spread out. So if people wanted some alone time, which there will be, plenty of free time, if they want to go out for a walk or whatever, they could do that. And we will be doing an art project based on nature and plants and leaves. So I wanted that like a nice kind of jungly feeling. So yeah, and I just thought it had space for yoga, it has space for meditation, and of course it'll have a chef there 24/7, so we'll be fed and taken care of, and yeah, and just think it's a gorgeous environment. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And also the history and the story behind the haciendas. I think that brings a lot to the culture. And when you're learning about the place, I'm sure you'll have part of that. Telling the story of the haciendas and the history of the Spaniards and the Mayans and how it was then and how it is now, and the uniqueness of the haciendas that aren't anywhere else in the world. Beautiful architectural buildings in the middle of the jungle, like you said. It's like, how did this happen?
Yeah, one of our favorite things to do is to go to some of the ones that are more on the ruined side. I just like Yaxcopoil is one of my favorite haciendas there.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, or ones that are totally abandoned, just climbing around and looking. It's just so intriguing and like a lost ark kind of way. um, but yeah, like you said, the mix of culture in Merida is so fascinating, and history. I spent some time in Guatemala, actually right before we came to Merida, and so the Mayan culture there too. I mean, that is why I am calling this Las Colores de Maya, because we're going to focus on the Mayan colors, which are the main ones, sacred ones: white, red, yellow, and black, which are also the colors of corn that they grow.
Yes.
So, yeah, I wanted to definitely make that connection to the local culture through this retreat and share, some of the stuff that people that are new to it might not know.
Mhm.
And something else I know on your itinerary is the blessing ceremony with the shaman.
Hmm. Yes, and you helped arrange that too. Thank you so much. But we did have something similar to that at our first retreat. It was a young priestess. We did a cacao ceremony with her. But I loved your suggestion of having it kind of start off the retreat so that we feel like we're entering into a new phase, and like to be cleansed and to get like a blank slate and to rewrite yourself a little bit during the week. I think that's going to be really great.
And really powerful. The woman who's hosting the ceremony for you, she's a shaman. There's rules that you have to be 52 years old. You've had to have so much practice. You have to be what do you call it? It's not an intern.
Apprenticed.
Yeah, apprenticed for so many years. And so she's been doing this work for over 40 years.
Wow.
And she's very powerful, and you can just feel her energy. I mean, I'm feeling her energy right now, just speaking of her, because I know the impact. I mean, I still go with her. I do a lot of temazcal ceremonies. I did a cacao ceremony with her recently. She does women's it's a ceremony for they do there's like a one for men. It's in all the indigenous cultures, but she does one specifically for the women called the moon dance. And so like it's like a 3-day ceremony where they're dancing underneath the moon, and it's really intense. You don't eat or drink for 3 days, you just dance. And I went to the end the last day, and you can't even describe or explain. All you can do is feel the energy from, especially with something like this, the feminine. It's so intense. You're like, okay, just give it to me. I can't talk about it. I don't know what it is. I'll take it. And she's wonderful. Like, I've worked with her probably 6 years now, and she's a wonderful person. So I'm very excited for your group to have this experience with her. She's really amazing.
Yeah, so are we. I'm really glad to offer that as part of the experience. And boy, that moon dance, that sounds really cool. I'll have to look up and see if we have any full moons during our retreat.
Yeah, that's a great idea, huh? Could do
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
Could do something similar to that, dancing underneath the moon and at the hacienda. Yeah, that sounds amazing. Wonderful. So tell us when is the retreat again?
It's this October 22nd through the 28th, and we have, the day everyone arrives, we'll just kind of get situated and we'll have 5 days of activities and rest time though as well. Yeah, so there's a website, Trinca.com has the info, and there's a deposit due, and that's coming up soon. So there's 3 spots left, and people can sign up now until the end of August.
Okay. Well, I'll be sharing. I'll put all your contact information in the comment section so they can reach out to either or both of you directly.
Yeah.
How
No, thank
exciting.
you so much. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to now you've reminded me about how great the itinerary sounds. I'm like, if I weren't leading it, I definitely want to attend.
Yeah, I want to be a part of it.
I
It sounds
know.
wonderful. It sounds like very
Well,
exciting.
one of the perks is that we do get to benefit from all the things that we've planned. So we will be getting massages as well. I think everyone's going to feel just really super renewed after all of this,
And so it's all inclusive, right? So everything
except for the flight.
except for the flight. Yeah. But once you arrive here, you don't have to worry about anything. Everything's taken care of. Like you mentioned, Irina, it's a very safe place. Like as a woman, I can go out and walk in the middle of town at 3 o'clock in the morning and not have a problem.
Yeah.
It's you
That's
don't,
really good.
and that's something as a woman as well that you don't get to feel very often, where you just don't have to worry about that. You don't have to think about that, and it's a moment of like, whoa, this is really something you've never felt ever.
I mean, not even in, America and San Francisco can I say that. Yeah. So that
Yeah.
we're hopeful to change some misconceptions about Mexico, and that you can have that nice feeling, and that there's a lot to love there.
Couldn't agree more. That's
Yeah,
why I live
you
here.
are. I know. I'll have to join you someday.
Well, ladies, it was so lovely to speak with both of you and to get to know you and to hear your stories. So fascinating, and I just feel so honored to know you now and add you to the list of badass women that have crossed my path and I've gotten to, connect with. And so I want to thank you both for that. I'm super excited about your retreat. So, like I said earlier, I'll make sure and put all the information to contact you directly in the comment section, and we'll share it everywhere. And yeah,
And
wonderful.
I love that you're doing this too, Sarah. I think it's really cool just to listen to all the stories of other badass women and bring it to the forefront. Yeah, thank you.
No, it's my pleasure. Little side note here, it's kind of the same thing happened to me during COVID. So I've been doing tourism down in the peninsula. I was over in Tulum, and I was doing day tours over there. And when I decided to move down here permanently, I was like, I don't want to live in Tulum. It's not the place, because I had already known. Obviously, I told you guys, we've been here for 20 years, and so I knew, we already knew about Merida, and I was like, if I go to Mexico, if I make that move, I'm gonna move to Merida. And so in 2018, I was still going back and forth between Merida and Tulum, running the business in Tulum, and I was like, this is too much. So why don't I move the business over to this side? And so 2019, I started making that transition of doing the day tours. And so it would be like the cenotes, the archaeological sites, the haciendas, the Mayan communities, the same things we've been talking about, just on a day trip. And then I was getting ready to launch on March 15th of 2020. I was like, okay, now what do I do? And I had I kind of the same story of this anxiety and this worry about money and like, what am I going to do? And I just moved here, and I'm a fish out of water. I don't know what to do. And it really got me thinking about, like, what do we need to do to get things back in line? Because at that point, everyone was discombobulated, going, we don't know what to do. And I had done a meditation shortly right before the pandemic hit and everything shut down. And I had done it with a local Mexican girlfriend of mine here. And at this point, I didn't speak any Spanish. And it was with Spanish speaking guide. And it was all older women, much like they were 60s and 70s. And I was like, it doesn't matter if I don't speak the language. I'm just going to be here and receive the energy and feel it. And the message that came to me was, heal the women, heal the planet. Heal the women, heal the planet. My background is sustainability. I'm a sustainability consultant. And so everything for me is about how do we, reduce our impact on the planet. And so when that message came to me, I didn't think too much about it then. I was like, okay, sounds good, feels good, great. Then when the pandemic hit and I'm like, okay, what the hell do I do now with this tourism business? That message came back to me, heal the women, heal the planet. And I was like, we need to reconnect women to their gifts. We need to reconnect women to their power.
Yeah. That's totally our aim too. Yeah.
You're speaking our language, Sarah. That's amazing.
That's why we're here. And it's just like you're talking about, why you're doing the retreat is to create this safe space for women to feel comfortable, to reach out, to be vulnerable, and it be okay to reconnect with themselves and probably discover maybe some they haven't even discovered. It's like you were saying, Anne, you didn't even start figuring it out until your 40s. So I think a lot of women and Irina, your background too. I mean, you're to be quiet and sit back and you're not to have any ideas. And so I think a lot of women have grown up in that similar situations, and they get to our age, their 40s and 50s, and go, no way, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, there's got to be something else. Yeah. And so that's why the work that you're doing is super important.
I agree. And too many women have been told that they don't have power or they don't have the capacity, whatever it is, right? However you want to define it. And that's so much further from the truth, regardless of our background, how we were raised. And that's the vision.
I love it.
Thank you for sharing that meditation story. That's very powerful, Sarah.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, ladies, so much for your time.
This was
wonderful.
We'll see you in October.
We'll see you in October. I'm very much looking forward to it. Say hello to Christina. So sorry she couldn't make it, but she was here in spirit.
Yes, you'll meet her soon.
You will.
Lovely.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, ladies.